Hello, this is a short video from the Improving Gender Balance and Equalities team at Education Scotland. We are exploring some of the reasons why many learners don't feel STEM is for them. This resource explores the research related to dominant representations of STEM as masculine and brainy, how that impacts learners, and how it makes it difficult for many learners to see STEM as for them. Also, how this contributes to the persistent underrepresentation of women and girls in STEM subjects and STEM careers. The resource will finish with reflective activities that can make up part of the response to these barriers. Part 1. Is STEM for the masculine and brainy? What does the research tell us, and what can we do? Firstly, we will look at why is STEM not chosen by learners. The Aspires and Aspires 2 10-year longitudinal study explores young people's science and career aspirations. The report and additional evidence allows us to extrapolate some of these findings from science to STEM more broadly. Crucially, as the graph on the slide suggests, the issue is not a lack of interest in STEM, nor is there an issue with the perception of the value of STEM to society. The majority of young people from upper primary through secondary school feel that they learn interesting things in science, believe their parents think it is important to learn science, and think that scientists do important work. But very few of them aspire to become a scientist. The Aspires study suggests one factor is the representation and associated perceptions of STEM as masculine and clever. STEM is perceived as being masculine and for geniuses, and so those who don't identify as incredibly clever are unlikely to feel confident enough to pursue STEM. As an example, physics was the area of science that was most strongly seen as being masculine, and also considered the hardest, suggesting the two go hand in hand. So STEM is perceived to be only for the very clever, which is a problem in itself. But there is a further problem with who perceives themselves to be, and who is perceived by others to be, clever. The Aspires 2 report confirms that identifications with cleverness are not simply derived from academic attainment, but are profoundly racialized, classed, and gendered. Cleverness is aligned with middle-class, white masculinity. In other words, girls, working class, and minority ethnic students found it hard to be recognised as clever and hence as scientists, regardless of their attainment. For young people who don't feel they fit clever, whether they are attaining well or not, their conception of certain STEM subjects doesn't fit well with their self-identity, and so they are unlikely to elect to continue with STEM. It is important to emphasise that this is not because of innate ability or real cleverness, but because of perceptions of cleverness. And we know from PISA research that evidence strongly suggests gender gaps in academic performance are not determined by innate differences in ability. We can begin to see that the cultural depictions of gender roles and cultural depictions of STEM act as a significant barrier to many learners. So, how could we help dismantle the perception that science and STEM are masculine and brainy? We have outlined questions we can ask ourselves to begin unpicking this. Firstly, how can we avoid reinforcing the stereotype of a lone, white, male genius? What messages are learners getting about who does STEM? This could be everything from who is referenced when discussing STEM, the posters on the walls, the images in textbooks, and how we discuss the images in textbooks, and the stories we tell about STEM. It also requires us to think about what examples we give of STEM careers, and are they wide-ranging and specific, and are they regularly weaved into learning and teaching? How then do we find ways to link learning to real, current STEM? This includes linking to real problems, humanising STEM work, and emphasising the need for teamwork. It could also include linking to work happening right now across Scotland, pointing to the major STEM industries in Scotland, such as renewable energy, the food industry, construction, human health and social work, water supply, sewerage, waste management, and manufacturing. We can also ask ourselves, how do we link to a broad range of careers, pathways, and entry levels? This might involve identifying apprenticeships, highlighting technician-level opportunities, as well as university courses, and building links with colleges and employers. My World of Work and Skills Development Scotland can support with this. How do we give the sense of STEM being about inquiry, asking questions, and exploring? This is more central to STEM skills than the notions of natural talent or cleverness. Anyone can ask questions or work collaboratively to come up with solutions, test solutions, and refine the design. It is crucial to be explicit about the development of these skills and link them to STEM pathways. We have a variety of resources available on the National Improvement Hub. Our resource Quick Start Guide can be used to navigate the page at www.bit.ly/NIHIGB. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen or read, and if you're interested in discussing this further, please do get in touch. igbe@educationscotland.gov.scot. Finally, here are the complete set of references used throughout this resource.